current hit. Play that funky music. From his album To the Extreme, this is Vanilla Ice.
Hey, yo, yeah! Take it from the Iceman, lyrical poet with a master plan. Telling you how it is in showbiz. You tell him, buddy! A white rapper with some street knowledge. I write the rhyme for you. Yo, drop this one for the VIP crew. Come on, baby!
The early 90s. Music charts would contain everything from Wilson Phillips to the cerebral reaches of Madonna, and movies about dogs and babies were on the rise. And not much else, to be honest. After an 80s full of decadence and debauchery and moonwalking, a huge void was left open as far as pop music was concerned. Well, aside from some obvious exceptions. How will pop culture survive? Well, the party, rap, R&B scene was just around the corner, but not just by chance. The groundwork for many pop acts to come in the 90s was laid out by a select golden god from Texas. We all know who comes to mind when we think of the extensive hip-hop talent that comes from the great state of Texas. That's right, Vanilla Ice. All jokes aside, when it comes to the tragic rapper backstory, Ice is no stranger to the fine details. Let's see. Vanilla Ice, aka Robert Van Winkle, has never known his biological father. Check. Van Winkle was affected by hip-hop at an early age, saying, "It's a very big passion of mine because I love poetry. I was just heavily influenced by that whole movement, and it's molded me into who I am today." Check. Van Winkle also practiced breakdancing and became very, very good at it, which led to his friends nicknaming him Vanilla, as he was the only one in the group who was not black. Check, I guess. Van Winkle started battle rapping at parties, and because of his rhymes, his friends started calling him MC Vanilla. However, when he became a member of the breakdance troupe, Van Winkle kind of just went by Vanilla Ice from there on out. Soon after, at the age of 16, he would write his biggest hit. In 1985, before hitting it big, he was kind of focusing all his energy on motocross, winning 3 championships. But after breaking his ankle during a race, he decided to focus more on his breakdancing. Good idea. And it was then when he was dared to dance at an open mic at a local Florida nightclub called City Lights that he would impress the owner, and soon land opening stints for groups like NWA, Digital Underground, Public Enemy, and MC Hammer. In January 1987, Ice was stabbed 5 times during a scuffle outside of City Lights, and another check. 2 years later, Vanilla Ice would open for Stetsasonic, Ice-T, and Sir Mix-a-Lot on the Stop the Violence tour. And just a few short years later, all anybody cared about was Vanilla fucking Ice.
Alright, stop, collaborate and listen. Ice is back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly, flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know.
But this video isn't about how Ice conquered the world, or about how he was assaulted by Suge Knight. Seriously, there's like a million videos on that, fuck off. But rather, this is a video about how Rob Van Winkle, aka Vanilla Ice, went from a living cartoon to a Rasta guy who looks like he's about to try and bum a cigarette, to a guy who looks like he hangs out in front of a probation office, about to try and bum a cigarette. And also, about how nu metal can save lives. Now it's kind of hard to explain just how huge Ice was in the early 90s. His album, To the Extreme, spent 16 weeks at the #1 Billboard 200. For those of us who were there, I mean, we all wanted the Vanilla Ice doll. You know, I remember having the trading cards and posters on my wall, and I even tried to decipher Cool's Ice when I was way too young. Vanilla Ice was on huge tours, getting paid by Coca-Cola, banging out Madonna, and as far as I'm concerned, he reached his peak right here.
Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go, 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 go.
And like I said, he would even star in an award-winning film, Cool as Ice.
Hurry, don't think about it.
Hey, I love you.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
It was after about 4 years straight of touring when Ice would take a break to ride his bikes and shit. Kind of just taking it easy and stepping back from the spotlight, really. And getting really high. He would become a vegetarian and a Rastafarian and even comply with the look. So what do you do after you instantly conquer the music industry? Well, in Ice's case, whatever the hell he wanted to. He wanted to make more aggressive, truthful music, and to just have a good time doing it. So Ice would return in 1994 with the cannabis-infused and seemingly Cypress Hill-inspired Mind Blowin'.
You feel it, you feel it, you want it, roll it, lick it, now hit it. Roll 'em up, roll up the hootie back, roll 'em up, roll 'em up, roll up the hootie back, roll 'em up.
Even Ice knew it would be a hard sell, but he was content to do what he wanted to do, since money at this point was obviously no issue. It was here where Ice would respond to all the haters that took shots at him in previous years, and in my opinion, a lot of it's pretty damn fun. But of course the album had horrible reviews. Primus bassist Les Claypool even chimed in, speaking about Ice's cannabis-oriented lyrics. That's all fine and dandy and cute, but it could be misconstrued and manipulated by the wrong people. Yeah, sure, man. When asked about the drug-oriented sound years later, Vanilla Ice said, "A lot of the record is drug-oriented because I was doing a lot of drugs at the time." At around this time, Ice began using ecstasy, cocaine, heroin, all the good stuff. He attempted suicide with a heroin overdose on July 4th, 1994, but was revived by his friends. But shortly after, his label SBK went bankrupt. Ice would then focus on selling real estate and take to therapy in the form of a grunge band called Pickin' Scabs. This would be the new metal seed planted deep in the Ice, as while he would use the band to focus on healing via personal lyrics and such, the band just couldn't get the sound Ice was envisioning, as he never really wanted to be a heavy metal or grunge guy, but was intrigued nonetheless. By this time, Ice had took over the Billboard charts, starred in his own motion picture, nailed Madonna, overdosed, became a real estate mogul, and won multiple motocross awards and till this day holds titles. It would be through his motocross background that he would finally find the right guy to get the sound out of Ice's head he could just not figure out otherwise. Monty Lippman of Universal would recommend Ice's old motocross friend and record producer Ross Robinson to work with him. He was most notable at the time for producing acts like Korn and Deftones, and would be perfect for the angsty hip-hop sound Ice was obviously trying to go for here. In fact, Robinson would go one further and push Ice to use his past demons as inspiration, resulting in some of Ice's darkest and most harsh lyrics. And it was when he first heard the new groove-oriented metal sound that was emerging, he knew that was it. In 1998, just as nu metal was hitting its stride, the Ross Robinson produced album Hard to Swallow was released by Universal Records. The subjects focused on in the album's lyrics include Vanilla Ice's abusive childhood and drug addiction.
This time around, Ice's music bears an uncanny resemblance to the reigning group du jour, Korn, whose producer, coincidentally enough, worked on the new album.
He said, "You ever heard of Korn and Limp Bizkit and I think Sepultura and Deftones?" And I'm like, "Not really. I mean, I kind of heard the names, but I couldn't tell you any of the songs, Anyway, he sends me a CD and I'm like, yes."
Ice would book a pretty big tour in support of the album, hitting the road with a 7-piece band, booking mostly small venues and clubs. Ice couldn't have known what to expect, but in true Vanilla fashion, all shows were jam-packed, and many more shows had to be added due to tickets selling out. People were ready for some Ice. Now, nu metal wasn't the phenomenon it would become just yet. There were just a few major bands breaking into the mainstream at this point, and soon down the line, musical acts would adopt the nu metal style and moniker strictly for financial gain. Jackoffs. But here, Vanilla was all in. 100%. No bullshit. This is what he wanted to do, and he was all about it.
For those who might have thought they'd heard the last of white rap oddity Vanilla Ice, at least until his upcoming induction into the Fools Hall of Fame, we have some disturbing news. Not only is the Iceman back, but he's flogging a new album, and he managed to blag his way into the New York punk mecca CBGB recently to promote it. Believe it or not, though, the gig proved to be highly entertaining in a cruel sort of way. See for yourself.
He got to nu metal because that's where he wanted to go. And he did some cool things with the genre, if I can say so myself. While it got some unfavorable reviews, so to speak, it did get better ones than his last mainstream album. One New York Times reviewer wrote, "The most earnest new song, Scars, condemns an abusive father. The sentiments would sound more genuine if Korn hadn't gotten there first." Which I guess is a compliment. I think this is better than Korn. The album would feature nu metal alumni Casey Chaos from the band Amen, and even Jimmy Pop Ali from Bloodhound Gang. It's an interesting take when comparing his former albums. Ice was really on board here, and some tracks really did get pretty damn heavy. And the live shows only go to show how much fun he was having, fully using the music as actual therapy. Too Cold became a radio hit in some markets. Reviews of the album were generally mixed to negative. A reviewer from Los Angeles referred to the album as stupid, exploitative, derivative rap metal by the man who once did nearly irreparable damage to hip-hop. Damn. John Perales of the New York Times wrote that, if history is any guide, Vanilla Ice's adaptation of rap metal means that hard rock is about to move on. Richard Torres of Rolling Stone gave the album 2 out of 5 stars, writing that while nothing, however, can redeem Ice's whack boasting, the album isn't half bad. But not all were negative reviews. The Iowa State Daily called the album the greatest pop culture comeback of all time. However, the album did not chart, and it did appear on the AV Club's list of least essential albums of the 90s, and at number 24 in Maxim's list of the 30 worst albums of all time. But did Ice let that stop him? Hell no. He had found the sound he was looking for, and he wanted to take it in further directions. And that's what he did with the next release, 2001's Bipolar. Prior to the release, he would join ICP in some wrestling matches and in turn build a musical relationship, joining the gatherings and even having ICP featured on a track on the album, of which consisted of even more aggro-style groove metal and even more inward deep lyrics. But Ice would also tone it down a bit more and not be as heavy-handed thematically as he was on Hard to Swallow. Definitely having more of a good time here with this one. Ice again toured, and again sold out nearly every show. But the album was universally panned by critics. Bradley Toreno of AllMusic greatly disliked the album, calling it wildly uneven and at times hilariously bad. He referred to the album's heavy metal influenced songs as being terribly generic and derivative of bands such as Korn and Deftones. However, he praised the production of the hip-hop songs, but described their lyrics as boring and simplistic. The metal tracks here aren't really of the nu metal style. Really. Take a listen. Ice said that he was influenced by bands like Sepultura and even Linkin Park in the early 2000s. And here with the track Step Up or Shut Up, it's never been more prevalent. Aside from that, the album was essentially hip-hop. Very, very much 2005 hip-hop to be exact.
Well, it's not about the industry, and it's not about the things that I've been through like Nas and Jay-Z. See, I've seen a lot of things on the road to destruction. Addicted to this rap game, standing up and busting. This ain't a comeback, this ain't a second coming. We took a real loss when Dimebag stopped strumming.
Ice would then release WTF, Wisdom, Tenacity, and Focus, in 2011. However, the new metal sound Ice had fallen in love with is now nowhere to be heard. In fact, it sounds like he's in a good place with this album, and hell, he seems to be doing just fine ever since. Who would have thought that new metal is the best therapy? I can admit that the low end and groove elements adopted and evolved from the movement do have a solid place in aggressive music overall, and they did before that. And that being said, I think Hard to Swallow in particular was not the worst album to come out in that whole movement. And we would still have many years to watch nu metal's rise and demise. There were definitely worse and cringier nu metal bands out there. But shit, something tells me that doesn't bother the guy at all. Vanilla Ice's legacy is still felt today, and while his nu metal era might be seen as a black mark on his career to some, or most, or nobody, I mean, most people seem to not give the guy the time of day simply because, well, he's Vanilla Ice. But what I found here was a guy who survived a tough childhood, made a name for himself in the rap game with literally everything going against him, and who conquered the world immediately. And where most on his level wouldn't have survived, hell, he almost didn't. Ice managed to do the unthinkable. Come back and do exactly what he wanted to do for the rest of his career, not caring at all what anybody but his many, many worldwide fans thought, and proving to be an okay dude all the while. And his foray into nu metal was done on his own. In fact, everybody told him not to do it. Every decision he made after his major label debut was made on his own accord, and he took full responsibility for it.
And then I signed with SBK Records, and they said, well, we're going to take your hip-hop record and we're going to cross it over to this pop market. And I was actually like, no way, man, I don't even listen to pop music. What are you talking about? It's not going to work. And they were like, well, we're so sure it'll work. To change your mind, because I told them, no, I don't want to do it. We're going to, here's a check for $1.5 million. I already saw it. It had my name on it and everything, $1.5 million. I was 3 car payments behind on my 5.0, and I was 19 at that time. It was like I won the lottery, man. It's like, fuck, what do you want me to do?
And when he decides to return, there are legions and legions of fans all around the world waiting. He is currently signed to Psychopathic Records, and fairly recently has made some noteworthy appearances.
Boom, what you gonna do now? Vanilla Ice in the mix, starting new now. What? Mac cribs, money stack, show I still got them. Fancy whips, candy tracks, show I still cop them. Platinum bros, lace with facts, show I still drop them. Your favorite rapper, Ray the Ice, show I still top them. Got a sold out world tour, no stopping.
And I'm sure he'll be around for a good while longer, in one form or another. I'll be watching to see what happens next in the saga of Vanilla Ice, and if you haven't heard his nu metal stuff, go give it a listen. It's nowhere nearly as bad as this crap. Your inner 8th grader might be pleasantly surprised.
Goggles?
And you gotta take it out of the thing.
goggles, and to show you that, I'm out with the old and in with the new, I'd rather people focus on, hard to swallow, plug. Back nowadays with the
Are
new
you gonna
record.
throw that up in the air and hit it?
No, I'm not gonna do nothing that bad. I would never do that.
That's not a...
Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about.
There we go.
So, sorry, John. Hi, Debbie. And the popcorn for everybody. Sorry about the set there, guys.
Well, the tape's fine.
What?
Everything else is
No. Hold it up.
No vanilla.
Just hold it there.
Vanilla!
When it comes to rappers who I loved as a young child, and then went on to kind of forget about unless I'm watching Ninja Turtles 2, I can go on and on. But I won't.